So it's 2025 now, and Carrier is revamping their HVAC product lines. That means new model numbers, specifications, and pricing. But what is this new product line? And what are the pros and cons? Well, let's talk about it. Hi, this is Kenneth with Atlas AC, and at any point during this video, if you find it to be helpful, please hit the like button, and that will really help me out with the YouTube algorithms. So in this video, I'm going to specifically be talking about the changes that have been made in Carrier's complete gas systems, which would be a match-up AC unit, furnace, and evaporator coil. So we're going to be looking at the changes in the model numbers of the equipment, along with whether or not the specs improved, and what are the cost differences. Alright, quick disclaimer. So R454B is mildly flammable, and the new equipment does require additional safety features. And I'm not going to be covering that component in this video, but I'm going to stick to performance changes, design changes, and cost. So as we're all probably aware by now, we're in the middle of a government mandate to quit using R410A in new HVAC equipment, and Carrier has decided to use R454B as the alternative. So in this changeover, Carrier also decided to make some changes to their product line. So let's start off with looking at the new equipment that they're currently rolling out. So we are going to talk a little bit about model numbers, which can be boring. So if you're not interested in model numbers, you might want to jump over to minute 350 where we cover the side-by-side comparisons. So here we have Carrier's updated models. Now this is not going to be everything, however it's going to be some of their most popular products. And these condensers are straight cool condensers that would match up with a gas furnace, so they don't heat, they only cool, making them a straight cool condenser. So if we start off with the Comfort Series, which is Carrier's base model equipment, and only comes in single stage and is also the most economic option on this list. So the old model used to be 24SCA5, and the new model with R454B is 26SCA5. So in the model number, they're just changing the 4 to a 6. And out of the Performance Series, the most popular model is the TPA or TPB, which is a two-stage condenser. They also have a single-stage performance condenser, and it's not all that popular, at least for us, so we're not going to be covering it in this video. So the old two-stage performance condenser is a 24 TPA or B7, and the new one is a 26 TPA 8. So once again, we're changing the 4 to a 6, and the last number from a 7 to an 8, and locking in the A. And lastly, we have Carrier's Infinity Systems, which is the highest tier equipment that they offer, and is fully communicated. And this is where we see a major product shakeup. So the old Infinity products were a 24 VNA9, which is their 5-stage communicating condenser. So the product that's replacing their 5-stage condenser is a 26 VNA1 and is fully variable speed. So they're getting rid of the 5-stage line altogether and going fully variable speed. And the 24 VNA6 was their Greenspeed model that is fully variable speed. They're wanting you to use a 27 VNA3, which is a heat pump. So the product lines for Carrier's Infinity Systems have completely changed. So for the Comfort and Performance Series condensers, there's no major shakeup in the new equipment. However, the key change here is the refrigerant, which does have an impact on performance and cost. Now for the Infinity condensers, we have a completely new product line. And we'll dig into the performance and the cost in a second. Now let's take a look at some of the changes when it comes to the evaporator coils. So evaporator coil attaches to your furnace and is largely used when you're cooling your house. And these evaporator coils are some of the most common ones that Carrier offers. So the first one we have here is a CVPMA, which is going to be replaced with a CVAMA. So we're changing out the P for an A. And if you go down the list, it's the same for all of these coils. Now the major differences in between the 410A coils and the R454B coils is that they have additional safety sensors built into the evaporator coil to detect refrigerant leaks. Now the last component in the gas system is the furnace, and Carrier is using the exact same furnaces as they were before, because they made all the needed changes back when SEER2 was introduced, so no changes were needed. So now let's shift gears and talk about the differences in performance, cost, and comfort. Now if we jump over to our handy dandy chart, you can see that I have Comfort, Performance, Infinity, and Greenspeed systems all broken out. And in each series, I have the equipment broken out for the old 410A equipment and the new R454B equipment. So we could have a side-by-side comparison. Now the column all the way to the left are all the things that we're going to be comparing. And in all of these examples, I'm using a 3-ton AC unit, an 80% furnace, and a multi-positional coil. And the reason why I'm doing this is so that we can specifically see what the differences are in between the new and the old, versus just a rule of thumb. And please keep in mind that there are dozens of different furnaces and evaporator coils that will match up with each one of these condensers, which can change the efficiency and overall performance of the system. However, I did try to keep everything as close to apples as possible. So now let's take a look at the Comfort Series. So here are the model numbers for a 3-ton single-stage gas system, and here we have the R410A equipment and the R454B equipment. And here are the changes in the nomenclatures. You can see that I'm using the exact same furnace for both systems, and both systems do have AHRI matchups, meaning that the equipment is designed to work together for a complete system. You can see that the nomenclatures didn't change all that much. And the rule of thumb with little changes to the nomenclatures also means that there's probably not substantial changes made to the product. And that's exactly what we see here. And that's because Carrier made the bulk of the changes for R454B back when they rolled out the new Series 2 equipment. Now when it comes to the performance of the equipment, both the condenser and furnace are single stage. So it doesn't matter if you're in cooling or heating mode, the equipment only works on or off, or at 100% capacity or 0. And there's no in between. So you do end up with potential hot and cold spots, along with higher humidity in comparison to the other systems. And that's because it's turning on and blasting the air, and then turning right back off. That means that the air doesn't cycle all that long in your house, which again could lead to hot and cold spots and humidity issues. So to minimize this from happening as much as possible, you're going to want to make sure that the equipment is sized appropriately for your house, along with your ductwork being correct for the system. Because if you oversize a single stage system, it's going to exacerbate this problem. However, if you size it and install it correctly, it's going to minimize this problem. Now when it comes to the efficiency of the equipment, you can see that there's not a lot of changes here. So the 410A equipment was running at 15.2 SEER, while the new R454B equipment is operating at 15.5 SEER, and we also went from 12 EER to 13 EER. And of course, we're using the exact same furnaces, so no changes there. So overall, on the cooling side, it did get slightly more efficient. So now if we move over to the sound or how loud the system operates at, you can see that the old equipment operated at 75 decibels, which is roughly the sound of a busy highway standing 50 feet away. And the new unit is operating at 72 decibels, which is a little quieter. Now when it comes to the warranty, there's no changes there. There's still a 10 years parts warranty once the equipment is registered. So if a component breaks within the first 10 years, Carrier will provide a replacement part for free. And lastly, we have cost, and the old equipment was running at $8,377, and the new equipment is running $8,967, or a 6.5% increase. Now this price not only includes the equipment, but the installation as well. Now that being said, I am expecting these prices to go up a couple more percentage points, so please reference our website for any updates. So now let's move over to the performance series, which we're going from a 24 TPA or 24 TPB to a 26 TPA. And here are the model numbers that we're going to be using for our matchups. And once again, we're using the exact same furnace. So both systems here have two-stage heating and cooling, with the first stage being around 70% capacity and the second stage being at 100% working capacity. So throughout the bulk of the year, it's going to be operating in the first stage, which is going to circulate the air longer. And with a longer cycle time, that means it's going to balance out the air temperatures throughout the house, meaning less hot and cold spots. And since it's running longer, it's going to be pulling more humidity out of the house, overall making the home more comfortable than a single stage system. Now when it comes to controls, there is a slight change here. So if we look back up at the 410A model numbers, where we have a 24 TPA or 24 TPB, what the A means is the unit is an older model and does not come with IntelliSense. What the B means is it's an updated model and does come with IntelliSense. And for the new model, the 26 TPA, it only comes with IntelliSense. And essentially what IntelliSense is, it does lightweight communicating for things like subcool and superheat and other error codes. And if it's connected to the cloud, it can report back to the contractor. So if there is error codes, they would be notified right away. So it's basically there to help protect your equipment, along with speeding up diagnostics. Now you do need a specific Ecobee thermostat in order to access IntelliSense. Now let's take a look at the efficiency of the equipment. You can see that the old equipment was pulling 16.5 SEER2, and the new equipment actually went down some to 16 SEER2. And the EER2 was at 12.5, and for the new equipment it slightly went up to 13 EER2. And the furnaces are identical, so nothing changed there. Now I do want to point out here, I am trying to keep everything apples to apples, and if you wanted a higher SEER rated system, all you would have to do is change out the furnace and the evaporator coil to a more efficient matchup. And if we did that, we could probably squeeze out around 17 SEER out of either one of these systems. Now if we look at how loud these units operate at, the old unit was operating in between 72 to 74 decibels. So again, that's about 50 feet away from a busy highway. And for the new unit, I know that it's operating at 69 decibels when it's running in the first stage. However, I couldn't find any product literature when it's operating at 100% capacity. So that number will probably end up coming in around 72 to 74 decibels. And the warranty stayed the same, so you end up with a 10-year parts warranty once the equipment is registered. And for the cost, the 410A equipment was running at $10,955, and the new R454B equipment is coming in at $11,691, or a 6.3% increase in cost. And both those prices include the equipment and the installation of the equipment. And also please check our websites for any price updates, because I am expecting the R454B pricing to go up a couple percentage points. Now let's jump over to the communicating infinity equipment. So you can see that we're moving away from a 24 VNA9 over to a 26 VNA1. And again, we're going to use a 3-ton system for our comparison example. And these are the changes in the model numbers. And once again, the furnace is staying the same. And as you can see that there's a decent amount of changes in the condenser model number, meaning there's most likely going to be quite a bit of changes made to the equipment. Now if we come down and look at the operations of these two systems, so you can see that the old 410A Infinity system has 5 stages of cooling that it could choose from. The first stage starting at 25% and the last stage being 100% working capacity. And the new R454B Infinity is a fully variable speed HVAC system. It starts off at 25% and can make 1% increments all the way up to 100%. So it's a more precise system because it can dial in exactly how you want the house. And for both examples, we have a 2-stage furnace, and both of these systems are fully communicating. So what that means is they have the ability to learn their environment. So whenever you set your temperature and humidity settings a certain way, it's going to constantly be learning how to achieve those results the most efficient way possible. And with the new equipment being fully variable, it has the ability to accomplish that goal a little bit easier. And these systems are great for removing hot and cold spots throughout the house because with the low operating capacity, it has the ability to run a lot longer and balance out the air temperatures and humidity levels throughout your house. So you might be saying, but it only has a 2-stage furnace, so the comfort's going to be the same as the Performance series, right? Well, not exactly, because it does have a variable speed blower, and since it's a learning system, it's still going to provide quite a bit more comfort than a Performance series. Now if we take a look at the efficiency of these two systems, we can see that the 5-stage Infinity is able to deliver 17.5 SEER2, and the new variable speed system is able to deliver 19.5 SEER, so a decent increase in efficiency. And the 5-stage is running a 12 EER2, and the new fully variable drops to 11 EER2. And keep in mind that the amount that you're going to be paying to the utility companies is going to be based on SEER and not EER. However, a certain EER is required to get rebates from the utility company when upgrading to a more efficient system. And for the gas efficiency, we are running identical furnaces, so there's no changes there. Now when it comes to sound levels, the 5-stage will operate in between 56 and 71 decibels, depending on what stage it's in. So the lower the stage, the quieter it is, and the higher the stage, the louder it is. And for the fully variable, we're looking at 55 to 72 decibels, so slightly quieter when it's operating in the lowest working capacity, and slightly higher when it's operating at 100% working capacity, which is not going to happen very often. So the noise that it's producing on the low side is about as loud as having a normal conversation with somebody. And on the high side, that would be like road noise driving at 60 miles an hour. And when it comes to warranty, both are the same. Carrier provides a 10-year parts warranty, much like the Comfort and Performance series. Now when it comes to pricing, the 5-stage 410A system goes for $14,153 installed, and the fully variable R454B system goes for $15,109 installed, or a 6.3% cost difference. So as we all know, prices are always changing, so please reference our website for the most accurate numbers. Now let's jump over and take a look at the last system, the Greenspeed. So we're going from a 24 VNA6 to a 27 VNA3. So a 24 VNA6 is a straight cool condenser. That means it only cools and it doesn't heat. A 27 VNA3 is a heat pump. That means it both heats and cools. Now you can still use your furnace with a heat pump, which is called dual fuel. And that's the example that we're going to use here. So here are the model numbers for this example, and these are all the changes. And again, I'm using identical furnaces, and this is actually the same furnace and evaporator coils that I used in the previous Infinity example. Now going to the operations of the system, the 24 VNA6 is fully variable and can operate anywhere in between 25 to 100% cooling capacity, and it can adjust in 1% increments. Now for the 27 VNA3, it can operate in between 20 to 100% cooling capacity, so slightly lower and better than the R410 equipment. Now the 24 VNA6 is utilizing a 2-stage furnace, and the 27 VNA3 is technically variable speed in heating mode because the primary source of heat is the heat pump, and the furnace is only acting as emergency heat. Now both of these systems are fully communicating, making them a system that learns its environment and can optimize the indoor climate and efficiency specifically for you. And I'm not going to go into all the details because we touched on that earlier. And for efficiency, the old 410A system was able to deliver 22 SEER in efficiency, and the new R454B system delivers the same 22 SEER. Now for EER2, the 24 VNA6 was able to accomplish 13.5, and the 27 VNA3 did drop some to 12.5 EER2. Now where things get interesting is the heating efficiency. So both furnaces that I have spec'd in are identical. In heating, it's operating at 80% AFUE. Now, by installing a heat pump, the majority of the winter as your system is heating, it's going to be using the heat pump. So it's not going to be using any gas, but electricity, and is far more efficient than an 80% furnace. So in the wintertime, the 27 VNA3 is going to be quite a bit more efficient than an 80% furnace. Now, if we look at the sound levels, the old unit operated in between 53 to 62 decibels, and the new unit is operating at 56 to 68 decibels. And I think that's because it's a heat pump. But overall, both are very quiet systems. Now, both these systems have similar warranties, with a 10-year warranty on the parts. And what's interesting about the Greenspeed 27 VNA3 is if the compressor fails, Carrier will replace the entire outdoor unit, which that option is not available with any other systems. Now let's take a look at the cost. So the old 410A Greenspeed goes for $15,999, and the new R454B dual fuel Greenspeed is going to be coming in at $17,623 installed, which is a 9.2% increase in price. So what's my overall summary and conclusion? So when it comes to the Comfort and Performance Series equipment, we're not seeing any radical changes. The old 410A equipment ends up being very similar to the new R454B equipment, with the specs and equipment being very similar. So the biggest changes that we're seeing with the Comfort and Performance equipment is simply the additional accommodations needed for the new R454B refrigerant. Now when it came to the Infinity systems, we did see quite a bit of changes there. They're doing away with their 5-stage Infinity and going fully variable. They're also not replacing their straight cool Greenspeed Infinity with another straight cool Greenspeed Infinity. Instead, for their highest end system, they're going back with a Greenspeed heat pump. Now both systems did marginally increase in performance, whether that's going from 5-stage to fully variable or having a slightly lower cooling capacity. Both systems did improve in efficiency, whether that is an increase in SEER or by using a heat pump. So the overall cost to replace a gas system did go up in between 6 to 9%. And price increases do suck for everybody. However, in the industry, we were being told for months that pricing was going to go up anywhere from 15 to 20%. So the prices did end up being more aggressive than what we were anticipating.
If you found this video to be helpful, please hit the like button. We also have free buyer's guides and price lists on our website that you might want to check out. Until next time, have a good one.